Good morning. This is Norma Cowie once here again for a Sunday Thought. It's very hot here where I live in British Columbia, especially the Okanagan Valley in Canada. We have had abnormally high temperatures and lots of fires. That means bellies full of smoke. So on one hand, it's warm and lovely, and the other hand, you can't breathe. But in the meantime, I'm inside with the AC going, and it's cool enough for me because I do like it warm. And I'm known as that, coming from a subtropical part of New Zealand. I do like heat. Anyway, but it was a little too hot the other day, I must admit. Yesterday, in the heat, I performed a beautiful little wedding for a couple who had family and friends. And it always brings a thought when two people are coming together to legitimize their marriage in a formal way. And it leaves you with a thought about changes that happen, how we have this anticipation of how things come together and how they occur. Now, very often what people don't realize is that when you are living together or cohabitating, that you are very definitely your own person. But when you become husband and wife, say, or wife and wife, or whatever the combination is, mustn't leave out husband and husband. What begins to happen is the roles that have been played out for a long, long time as to what a role of a husband or a wife means. And that often begins the change process. Why people sometimes think, well, yeah, everything was fine when we lived together. How come? And a lot of people my age often talk about how people who have lived together for a long time and then get married, it doesn't last. And that is because there is a subconscious awareness of what the role is that you play. And when you take on the mantle of wife or husband, however that will be, is that there will be a shift and a change. And most people are not aware of that because they're not aware of how we are programmed from when we're little for our role. You can be the most evolved being and very much, this is me, this is what I think and believe. And then all of a sudden you take on the role. And I know because this happened to me. It's when you take on the role of, for me, it was wife, all of a sudden everything begins to get a little distorted and change. And often you can't kind of go back and grab who you were before this marriage thing that came into it. I do know and believe that in one way, if you are aware of that, coming together as a unified couple and beginning to see the world together rather than two separate people sharing, it can have phenomenal benefits. And actually, I like it when a person hasn't lived together too long before they actually get married, because it seems to be if you get really set in one way, then all these other, I don't want to almost call them inner demons, begin to come on up. So change begins to happen. But that's not the only changes that we have to deal with. Now, as I'm getting older, and this July is my birthday month, you can look back and you can see how every decade there is shifts and changes. And as a reader who sees a lot of people, and I see and talk to, yes, mostly women in certain age groups, and very often they've forgotten or don't remember their mothers or grandmothers going through different things. They just accept them. Oh, this is how they are now. But that isn't how you were all the time. I notice different things because of health issues, because of other things that when you think, well, why am I going through this? And there's lots of reasons why we do that. Some of them are genetic, which is one of my pet subjects. Some of them is because we don't keep to perhaps the healthiest diet in the world. Sometimes it's because of circumstances that have happened in our lives. I've had a very interesting life, and people kept saying, when are you going to write the story of your life? And I say after a few people have passed on, and it may be me first, so then a story won't ever get written. But maybe I'll write it and keep it away somewhere so it can be some other times, because I've had wonderful things happen, and then I've experienced huge roadblocks at different times. And it's how you handle those roadblocks. How do you handle the change? How do you move from one place to another and begin to see things in a different light? Change is an experience for you to grow, to dig deep, to not stay in the depression, or not stay in the regret, not stay in the guilt, all those things that we work to move beyond. I was speaking with someone the other day, and I was saying, I'm looking at, especially with what's gone on in our world in the last nearly year and a half anyway, I was looking and saying, just wondering about certain things. And I said, I look back to see how many regrets I have. And I had one. And so we talked out how I can make sure that regret does not stay with me, because I know from the past life regression work I do, when it's time to transition, it doesn't matter what age you are, it is the guilt, the regrets, and the strong emotions that you haven't cleared that seem to be the thing that you take with you into the next life you decide to get in, if you have that conscious decision and just not arriving in a life, which also can happen. Change. When I think about change, I think for my age group, we look back a little bit more, because when we look forward, it's like, how much have we got left? That's what often we'll say. Well, I wonder how much we've got left. How many years? And as I'm getting this birthday month, I'll be getting a little closer to 80. Not there yet, but it's like another milestone. So when you're trying to break up the years, you've got the 0 years and you got the 5 years. Like, in other words, if you're 30, then you've got 35. Now, 30 is a transition year. 40, as far as I'm concerned, because I deal mostly with women, of our power years. Then we come into the 50s, and we're still feeling pretty powerful and pretty good through those 40s and in command of who we are. And then we hit around 55. And I'm not saying every person falls into this category, because I have found some that don't fit into that. But energy things happen. Yes, you could say maybe women hit menopause, but at the same point, things begin to happen. And the next thing you know, you're at 60. Now, that's another big change in a person's life when they cross that 60 line. And pretty soon you're 65, because time begins now to speed up. And then the next thing, you're 70. Well, you're still feeling pretty good then. And you can move, and especially a lot of people have really kept up with not hindered like me from injuries from when they were a jock, when they were young, or other injuries that have come along in the way. And so it's like all of a sudden, 75, and then you're broaching 80. But every time period brings reward. Every time period brings you into a sense of direction of where you're going. So embrace the changes and don't get stuck in what we might call what has been created for us from our role, whether it's age, whether it's circumstances. And I truly, truly wish the young couple that I married yesterday, that looked so beautiful and so wonderful and so happy. And it's like we want always for that to continue and to be on. I wish you all well in your changes. And I want you to think about that. Where are you in that, what do you call it? The root of life, the element of life? Where are you? Are you at your most productive? Are you with your most wonderful? Or are you beginning to find energies maybe waning a little bit, but strength inside? We have an inner strength. And so on this Sunday, I wish you well. I hope it's not too smoky where you are. I have a lot of friends that can't go out when it's smoky and it's hot inside, which makes it difficult for most. So wishing you well. And I want to thank you for watching. See, some people have been watching on my Facebook, which is live. And I wish you all the very, very best in every change that is happening and going on. Lots of love.